What's happening? Welcome to On the One. I'm your host, Cory Wong. Today we're going to do a production breakdown of a tune of mine called The Sorcerer from an album I just put out called Starship Syncopation. This is a collaborative album between myself and the Metropole Orkest, wonderful orchestra that is based out of Hilversum in the Netherlands. Wonderful Dutch orchestra, been around a long time, play with a lot of legendary cats. We did a little tour together a few years ago and then decided, hey, we should do a whole album together. So I worked on writing a bunch of music for this album. This was actually the first tune that I wrote for this album. Sat down at my friend Cody Fry's house and was just like, let's do a tune for the collab album with the Metropole Orkest. This is what we came up with. And honestly, the guitar and bass stuff is still the exact parts that I played from the demo session. I literally have not played these since then. The day that I recorded the demo is the last time that I played these parts. So I've listened to it a ton of times because of all the arranging and writing and recording and mixing, but anyways, we'll get into that. All right, so just to get things going, you can see how I organize my Pro Tools session. We have the drums here, which were recorded by Aaron Sterling. We have percussion stuff from Aaron Sterling. My bass tracks, don't want to move them. My bass tracks here, Cody Fry's piano, which, by the way, baller move, just a 2 mix. Just stereo recorded is upright Yamaha U1, I think is what he has, with the felts on. Verb it out, send it over. Love that. My guitars, handful of guitar tracks. Orchestral percussion. We have the string section. Then we have the woodwind section. And the brass section. Here we go, right here. Now you'll see also as we go down, I did end up keeping some of the MIDI orchestra on this tune, partially because Cody uses these Spitfire samples or whatever that are absolutely insane, and he just knows how to make them really musical. So it just added a little bit of depth. I'll show you in here. They're tucked underneath the real orchestra because it's always better to have real players. But the MIDI thing kind of gave it a different fullness that I just didn't get in the other songs. It's cool. All right, so this song at its core is pretty simple. There's not a lot of sections. It's kind of a verse, pre-chorus, chorus thing, and a little bridge. And then we go back to the chorus. So if you're not familiar with the tune, you can go listen to it. But I'm just going to go down my session so you can kind of see what's happening. And I'll talk through it. Let's start with the guitar today just because I played the guitar. Really? I let that slide? Whatever. Maybe I should have recut it. That's fine. Who cares? In the context. Oh, you get the point on the guitars there. Man, really, this pre-chorus one, I should have redone that first pre-chorus. I mean, that was probably like we're writing it and I just recorded it. I guess in the context, you don't really notice. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal. Like I'm mixing with everything in context. So when I solo it, it's like, that could be a little cleaner, but in the mix, it's totally fine. You'll see that some of these, I remember now, these chunky guitars, I added this at the last second because it just felt like those parts needed a little it needed a little bit something heavier. The Metallica Orchestra record vibe. Clearly not as heavy, but it just felt like it needed something. And then these other ones, it's actually the Archetype Cory Wong beta that's just baked into these. I recorded it into Logic and imported them. I can tell because it's stereo tracks when they weren't stereo before. I don't know why that happens, but yeah, I mean, we recorded this. We wrote this before my plugin was even out. Wrote this in 2020. I knew I wanted to do this record with Metropole, and it was the first tune that we wrote, and it ended up making the cut. Now it's at the bass part in there is fun. This is Cody's. I have no idea what the bass even is, but it's a pick bass thing. I'm a pick bass guy. I love pick bass. Five string. Yeah, leave in the slop, you know? This definitely was a punch in. I punched in some slap bass. But a lot of that slop, that's kind of what gives it a certain character that I like. And then the other thing that stayed from the demo session is Cody's piano. We got to listen to this bridge part on its own. Let's get there. Let's get there. What did he play? Oh, yeah, in the... That's a real piano. That's Cody's upright at home. I think he mics it with two of the... What are those hamburger-looking mics? Those ribbon mics? I don't remember what they are. Nice sounding piano. Aaron Sterling's drums. Let's go down. I'll just show you what he sent me as far as individual tracks. Here's what... Main kick. Kick boomy. Snare crack. Snare vibe. Sure. Snare buzz. Hi-hat. Toms, I'm sure I edited out any other. Let's see how the tom sound. That's cool. Overheads. See these roomies. That one's affected. I didn't put those effects on it. That's cool. Again, Sterling's pedalboard approach to sending drums. If you didn't listen to the podcast episode that I did with Aaron Sterling, I had him on my podcast. He talked about his approach to sending in tracks. In the same way that us as guitar players like to send everything with the effects baked in, he does the same thing with the drums. It's pretty cool. Another room mic. Got some sauce on that. Got some action on that one. Pretty dope. And I just put a little bit of the punch and crunch. In my headphones, I feel like the hi-hat's maybe a tad loud. Look at me, I'm changing the mix after the album's out. Just pull back the hi-hat a little bit, like, what am I doing here? I don't know. I'm not going to make any large changes. Percussion-wise, Sterling sent in some of this stuff. We got a TikTok track. Uh-oh. We got a TikTok channel. Got that dodo bird. Stuff's great. Hear that in the track? It's cool. That little doo-doo, doo-doo, that's something I used to add in all my demos. A lot of my songs, I do this dee-dee, dee-dee thing. Welcome to Minneapolis, team sports, a bunch of stuff. I used to do that little move all the time. I don't know why. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so now we're into the orchestra. In the orchestra, I have this session is a little bit, a lot of people have asked, how did you organize your sessions? Yeah, it was a little bit of a nightmare. So I do groups. So I group together the orchestral percussion, which is not a lot of tracks, put it in its own folder, in its own bus. The strings are all in their own thing. going to a group, I have effects for that group, and then I have a bus for that group. The woodwinds, same sort of thing. I have the woodwinds all grouped together, which in this case is clarinets, flute, oboe, more flutes, bass clarinets, and then the brass section, which for them they were tracking the saxes also. I know a lot of people, you can call certain things whatever, but that was the saxes. Some of these are labeled as clarinets, but it was just doubles. It was easier in the engineering just to keep these there because it was duplicate channels. And then French horn, trumpets, trombones, bass trombone, and whatnot. And I actually added, sue me, I'm gonna show you later. I add a little MIDI tuba. Yikes. We'll get there. All right, orchestral percussion. Here's what we got. This is that Hans Zimmer patch, dude. The patch is just too good to replace. I just used the MIDI on that, but use the real cats here. That's fun, you know? It's cool. So some of those sort of sound effecty things. So I used some of the kind of Hans Zimmer sort of sounding, some native instruments package, I don't know. And then real orchestral percussion as well. Just to get that real cinematic thing. Strings. Ooh, you gotta hear this. Real strings? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna show the score while I'm doing it. Settle down, boys. We're gonna get through this. File compare. You gotta be kidding me. Finale, rest in peace. I'm opening up the finale file so you can see the score as it goes by. I also, as I'm mixing, there's some sort of thing going on here. What are we doing, guys? We don't want to be open together? Okay. Come on. I don't care if there's a compatibility. I don't care. Just... What? What is that? What? What am I playing, Mario here? I gotta jump up and hit all these question marks? What is going on here? What? Yo, this looks like the score of Bowser's Castle. Don't save. What is going on there? What the frick is this? Yeah, no wonder finale's done. You know what this is? This is probably some Cody Fry BS where he's like, I don't want people opening my score in their computers. So he puts in some stupid font that nobody else has. That's exactly what Cody did. I guess we'll open up the PDF so people can read along. I love you, Cody. You know that. And I doubt you did that maliciously. Let's let people see the score as we're going by here, because this is just beautiful work. Bars. 72. 73. 77. 'Nice. Incredible writing. Incredible writing. That one I actually duplicated these violins. I wanted to have this really haunting thing to them. So I put some weird EQ and spring reverb on them. On that one. It's fun. All right, let's get into these woodwinds. Woodwinds are nice on this. Woodwinds have some good action. Booty. Mr. Grinch. A low bass clarinet every time. That's nice. It almost sounds like you used like loops or something, like weird parts of loops. It sounds disjointed on its own. But now check it out in the context of the tune. It's really cool. It adds these extra layers underneath. Here's what I'll do. I'll turn the woodwind bus up for this so you can hear it. Now hearing it back down in the mix, it's more like this. It's just tucked in there, just to give it a little extra layer. The brass in there is also incredible once they come in. Powerful. Powerful. Come on, tonguing. I was riding these cats about the staccato. I'm somebody, the horn stuff, I like a... That stuff's got to be... We probably did 8 takes of that alone. Worth it. Yeah, let me show you the dirty secret here. Just chopped up sample. Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible, right? But check this out. Here's that part without those guys in there. Here's the part without them. Now let's get one more time. Cool, but now we add those guys in there. Just adds a little thing, you know? So even though the thing sucks on its own, it actually adds a lot in the end. I mean, let's listen to that guy. How bad is this MIDI tuba? That's like that Price is Right tuba, dude. That's... oh, man. But hey, it adds to the thing, so I don't care. I just needed it to add more just... And I didn't want to do too much editing on the actual instrument, so I just figured I'd add a sample one that's kind of choppy. Check this isolated trumpet solo. This... Although, I don't want to ruin this trumpet solo for anybody. we got 2 takes of the trumpet solo, and I was just like, oh yeah, give me take 2. That take 2 is the one, just straight through. But when I first heard this, I think it's like a Gucci Mane song or something. Some song from when I was young. Something to do with Gucci suit. Some like rap song. I don't know. That's all I hear in my head at the beginning of this trumpet solo. Like if Paul Anka was singing that song or something. That's nice. All right, by the way, before anybody roasts me, I know it's not a trumpet. It's a flugelhorn, okay? You don't think I don't know that? Flugs. Here's what it sounds like on its own. This is straight up dry. Okay, so, geez, what kind of signal flow? Sometimes you just do what you got to do when you're mixing on the fly and just mixing your stuff. We recorded the album in April. I just wanted to be done with it in like a month, so I just mixed it right away. And, you know, no, this makes sense. I got the solo, and then I have the effects, and those are going into a bus that has a... So to me, that sounds like a flugel going into like an SM7 or something. Took a little low out, added a little top end. Add the 2 different delays for the vibe. 8th note on one side, quarter on the other. Then you put the Valhalla Vintage with it. Take me straight to Bodie Town, dude. Anybody who's watched my mixing tutorials or any of my production breakdowns knows the Valhalla Vintage verb is my favorite reverb that's out there. Gotta give it up. Then I got a little compression. Ooh, still not doing anything? Where are we going? Honestly, not as compressed as I would have expected, but it's nice to give some life on that. So at the end of the day, writing-wise, it's a pretty simple tune. Arrangement-wise, it gets fun in there. Like, it could be really simple, but Cody chose to do some really interesting things. And then the bridge is where it kind of blossoms into this really beautiful, unique creation in itself. But the rest of the tune is just kind of a jammer. I wanted to try to add a bunch of other stuff. I added a bunch of different guitar layers at one point, and then I was just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of cluttering the thing, and it's kind of cool just being a little more simple and raw like this. Yeah, and as far as mix-wise, you can see there's not a ton of plugins happening. I mean, there's some, on a couple of the like MIDI things that I added there is, but Really, I did just some EQ shaping of each of the individual instruments, like the strings and stuff. And sometimes I would add, it's like I'm taking out a little low, exactly what you'd expect. Or in certain cases, like, let me see, I'm going through all these. No. Really nothing else. And then on the string group, I add a little bit of the soothe. I bring a little low end back, I guess. Little compression and a little more compression here. But a lot of the work was done on the way in. The engineering was great. The engineers, Tom and Dirk with Metropole Orkest, are incredible. So it made it so it's a lot of just volumes, panning, and then finding the right frequencies to shine in certain places. And the one thing that I think a lot of mixing engineers who do orchestral music and I disagree on is a lot of the orchestral folks want it to be panned exactly the way the orchestra is laid out when the orchestra sits for a concert, which to me, I guess in some ways does make sense, but that doesn't always work for every piece of music. That doesn't always make musical sense. Certain things are contrasting back and forth, and it makes more sense to have them go one side to the next, and that's not going to be reflected in the way the orchestra normally sits. Or certain things need to feel powerful down the middle rather than on the side. And I am making mixed decisions based on each individual tune and how I feel as a producer and the artist on this, how it needs to be represented in the music rather than, oh, this is how we normally sit in an orchestra. Because I don't care how an orchestra sits. I think you should pan the music the way that you really want it to be panned. Like, where do you hear these instruments placed? It's not just, well, flute always goes there, violin one's always over there. It's like, no. I don't want the violin there. It's distracting when it's all the way over on this side. I think it should be down the middle and then these other two things around it. I don't care the way that the orchestra is laid out, basically. Doing these kind of projects, it is a little bit overwhelming, but if you have a good way of organizing your sessions and kind of figuring out how to lay it out and hear it in your head, if you can see it on the score, see it in Pro Tools, listen to it, and make sense of it all that way, that's really going to help you. Because all these things, looking at the score as I'm mixing, helps me hear it in a different way. Watching it as it goes by, I get a little bit technical, which in some ways is good. But at the end of the day, I just need to close my eyes and listen and make decisions based on that. But I think as far as not being overwhelmed, actually looking at the score and getting good organization in the programs, is great. And then allow yourself to mix musically. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. Peace.